All right. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Finally, it is time to talk about the most exciting division in football heading into the 2022 NFL season. I'm excited, man. This division is going to be the toughest. It's going to be the most competitive. It's going to be the best. The AFC West this year is a war zone, and these four teams are going to be all contending for a playoff spot. All four of them. So you don't even know what's going to happen. I can honestly say that for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era in the AFC West, his team's not guaranteed to win this division. He's got legitimate competition because everybody in this division got better, dramatically better. This is an entirely different ball game, man, and I cannot wait to talk about this. But before we get into that, we must speak about what happened in 2021 when it comes to the AFC West. All right, so starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs once again won the AFC West. They won their division for the fourth straight year. They continue to be on a roll, and they make the playoffs once again. In the wild card round, they face off against a broken down Steelers team with Ben Roethlisberger playing his final game of his career, and they proceed to smoke them. I mean, the Chiefs, we all knew that was going to be a crappy game. The Steelers didn't have a shot in hell at beating the Kansas City Chiefs, especially not on the road. It was not going to happen, bro. It was not going to happen. Steelers fans already knew it. They just wanted to see Ben play one last playoff game and make the playoffs one last time. And he did. But they all knew they were not beating that Chiefs team. So the Chiefs disposed of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They then went to the divisional round where they hosted the Buffalo Bills. And my God, that game right there was one of the greatest postseason games we have ever seen. That was not an easy game. And I believe the Chiefs knew coming into that game it was not going to be easy. The Bills were a much better team than they were when they faced off against them the previous year in the AFC title game. So this one was going to be a full-on battle. And it was. It was perfect quarterback play from Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. They went toe-to-toe. They were throwing haymakers at each other. Both of them were coming up clutch. Both of them were making clutch plays in key situations, clutch throws in key situations. I mean, this was beautiful quarterback play. It was so close. You just didn't know. And I'm not going to lie, Chiefs fans probably saw it as well. They have complete faith and belief in Patrick Mahomes. But there was a level of fear that they were going to lose that game when Josh Allen hit Davis. Davis had 4 touchdowns in the game, by the way. I should have mentioned that in the Bills one, but Davis was on it, bro. But when Josh Allen hit Davis with, about 14 seconds left, Chiefs fans sat back and said, we might lose this game. We might legitimately lose this game. But Patrick Mahomes went on the field, refused to die. He hit his guys, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, got into field goal range. They kicked the field goal. It's up. It's good. They head into overtime. And Mahomes in overtime did not let that defense breathe at all. He hit Travis Kelce at the back of the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. And once again, for the 4th straight year, the Kansas City Chiefs went to the AFC title game. Now, everyone believed they were going to win that game against the Bengals. I believe they were going to win that game against the Bengals. But we were all shocked to see that the Cincinnati Bengals managed to pull it off. The Bengals did exactly what they did when they faced off against the Chiefs in the regular season. In the regular season, the Chiefs had the lead. Bengals put off a comeback, beat them late in the game. The exact same thing happened in the AFC Championship game. Chiefs had the lead. Bengals came back. It went into overtime. In overtime, Mahomes threw a pick. Joe Burrow did not let them off. They got into field goal range, kicked the game-winning field goal. Bengals went to Super Bowl, and the Kansas City Chiefs fell. And that's pretty much how their season went. Next up, we have a team that I got to give some respect to. Didn't give some respect to them last year, but I got to give them their credit. The Raiders. I did not think the Raiders were going to make the playoffs, but they proved me wrong. They made the playoffs, and they did it by beating a team I picked to go to the playoffs in the LA Chargers. That one hurt, I ain't gonna lie. Credit to the Raiders. They made the playoffs last year for the first time since 2016? It's been a long time since the Raiders made the playoffs. So they were finally back in the postseason. This was the second time, technically, Derek Carr was in the playoffs, but this was the first time he's played because back in 2016, he suffered a season-ending injury. He didn't get to play in that playoff game. This time, he got to play in the playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals in the wild card round on the road in Cincinnati. What happened? Well, they had it was a competitive game. It came down to the wire. They had a couple chances, and it came down to one or two plays in the red zone. And at the end of the day, with the game on the line, Derek Carr got picked off, and that was the season right there. If they could have gotten that touchdown, they could have had an opportunity to tie the game and we go into overtime. But because Derek Carr got picked off in the end zone, that ended the Raiders season right there. So they made progress. They finally made it to the playoffs. Now they have to find a way to win a playoff game and try and go on a run. So good for the Raiders. I hope they'll have the opportunity to do so this season. After the Raiders, we had the Chargers. Now the Chargers were a team I had a lot of faith in, or at least a lot of belief and expectations heading into last year. I expected that Justin Herbert was going to take that next step, and he absolutely did. And he showcased that last year. I thought this team was going to the playoffs. I thought they were going to be a really tough team in the postseason. Unfortunately, they missed the playoffs because they couldn't beat the Raiders. And the sad part about that is, had both those teams tied, which they were about to, had they tied, both teams make the playoffs. But there was no tie. The Chargers lost that game, and they missed the playoffs. I expect things to be different this year, but we'll see if that ends up being the case. And last but not least, we have the Denver Broncos, who didn't really do much last year. They looked like they had an opportunity to compete, but it didn't really work out. Bridgewater didn't really work out for them, bro. I'm just saying that. Bridgewater didn't work out. It's not like Teddy didn't try. Teddy Bridgewater really tried, but, injuries started piling up, and, he wasn't exactly playing well at times, and yeah, there was not much to say for the Broncos, which was unfortunate. I put the Broncos in the same conversation as the Colts. There are two rosters that are built to compete now. They just need the quarterback to take them to the promised land. And that's pretty much how the Broncos season ended. But what an offseason. What an offseason this has been. Heading into the 2022 NFL season, all four of these teams have undergone some changes. For the Kansas City Chiefs, the biggest change for them is the fact that Tyreek Hill, the cheetah, is no longer on the team. They traded him to the Dolphins. So they lost out on one Tyreek Hill. And what did they gain back for Tyreek Hill? I mean, what did they gain back, or what did they use to replace Tyreek Hill? Well, I mean, if there's one thing you could say, they got back. Well, they didn't get back what they got back. I'll be honest. They got Juju, bro. I don't know how you take it. You lost Tyreek Hill. You get back Juju Smith-Schuster. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Legitimately, I do not know what to tell you. You lost Tyreek Hill. The cheetah. They lost Tyreek Hill. But you got Juju, so we'll see how that works out for them. For the Chargers, they had two big pickups in free agency. J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack. Their defense is going to be much improved next year. For the Las Vegas Raiders, the biggest pickup they got in free agency was one Davante Adams. That's right, they took Aaron Rodgers' number one receiver and brought him to the Raiders. So now Davante Adams can reunite with its old college quarterback in Derek Carr, and we'll see if that's going to be enough. They also made some extra, they made some additions both in the draft and free agency to bolster up that defense. But the biggest pickup was Davante Adams, and we'll see how that works out. We'll see that Carr to Adams connection next season. And then, lastly, the Denver Broncos. picked up what they needed, what I've been waiting to see, what they've been missing for so long. They went out and traded for one Russell Wilson. So finally, this team that has been looking for a quarterback to take them over the top, they got him. Russell Wilson to the Broncos. If Wilson can still play the same way he was playing in Seattle, Denver will be a team to compete in the playoffs. And that's basically the main pickups they got. I mean, they got multiple, but these are the top pickups they got. So with that being said, with each team acquiring something new heading into this season, what is the floor and ceiling for these guys? Well, let's start off like this. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has not gone anywhere. Yes, he lost a very, very, very talented and powerful tool in Tyreek Hill, but you still have your main guy, one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football, in Travis Kelce. You still got plenty of weapons to utilize, and again, Patrick Mahomes is still one of the best young quarterbacks in the game, and hell, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game in general. So I still expect this team to find a way to win this division. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think they'll probably still be around. I don't think the Chiefs are going anywhere anytime soon. People have been preying on their downfall for a while now, and a lot of people are giving a lot of credit to what you've seen from Patrick Mahomes. They've given that credit to Tyreek Hill. So now with no Tyreek Hill, how is he going to look? Even though he has Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill made a lot of great plays. You're missing that guy now. How is Mahomes going to look? A lot of people think they're going to lose out a lot offensively because they've lost out. They no longer have Tyreek Hill. We'll see if that's the case. Mahomes is still Mahomes, so we'll see if he's able to deal with it. But yeah, I believe the ceiling for the Chiefs is 13-4. I believe they're still going to be a team that wins this division. I mean, you still have one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You still have the best tight end, arguably, in football. You still got weapons around you, and Andy Reid's still here. So, I mean, there's not much to say. Now, granted, your defense isn't the best, and I don't really trust it. I just don't trust that defense. Down the stretch, I just don't trust Kansas City's defense. It's always been like that in the Patrick Mahomes era. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to a point where I trust the KC defense, but you know, it is what it is. So I still believe that offense is good enough to help them win this division, though it's going to be the toughest battle they've had in the entirety of the Mahomes era. Next up, we got the Chargers. Oh, wait. Before we go on that, ceiling was 13-4. The floor for the Chiefs is 10-7. Let's just make that clear. Either way, I still think they're going to be in the playoffs. Next up, we have the LA Chargers. I have had a lot of expectations for the Chargers. Last year, they almost lived up to it, but they missed the playoffs. This year, I think they're going to get it done, get into the postseason, and make some noise. I expect Justin Herbert to continue to improve, and I expect this team to continue to improve and make strides towards actually making the playoffs. And I believe this is the year they finally break through. They are going to be such a problem for the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Chargers ceiling at 12-5. I have their floor at 10-7 as well. I believe the Chargers, I have them at 12-5, but they have the potential to also be 13-4. I think they're going to be the biggest threats in that division to Patrick Mahomes. And this Herbert and Mahomes rivalry that's starting to build up in that AFC West conference, that AFC West division, it's getting heated, man. It's getting heated and it's getting special, and I cannot wait to see how that's going to go out in 2022. So yeah, ceiling 12-5, potentially 13-4, floor 10-7. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos. Like I said, this team is ready to compete for a title. They have the pieces. Is it the most talented? No, but they have talent both offensively and defensively. They're well balanced. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. So I sit back and say, all they need is the quarterback to take them over the top. And guess what? They finally got it, one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson being on the Broncos makes them a contending team in the AFC. I also have the Broncos ceiling to be 12-5 with the potential to be 13-4. This is another team that is going to fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be a threat. They're going to be a problem. And again, Mahomes is going to have his work cut out for him. Now, I have the ceiling at 12-5 with the potential to be 13-4, like I said. But the floor, I have it a little bit lower. I think the floor is around 9-8 for the Broncos. I think they'll be over 500. They'll be somewhere in the conversation, potentially trying to compete. But, if things don't work out the way they wanted to with Russell Wilson and things are just not connecting or gelling well on offense, or maybe the defense takes a step back, which I don't think is going to be the case. I don't think they're going to take a step back from last year, but if that does happen, they'll be a 9-8 football team. So their ceiling's at 12-5 with the potential to be at 13-4, and their floor is at 9-8. Last but not least, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. This one's interesting, and again, it feels like there's some sort of biasness I have against the Raiders fans, or at least that's what Raiders fans have said about me. I don't know. But I have the Raiders also competing for the playoffs and also competing for the division. However, I'm not 100% sure they could take that. I have their ceiling at 11-6 with the potential to be 12-5. I think they're another team that will be very difficult to deal with. It's another team that Kansas City is going to have to deal with. Even though Kansas City has played relatively well against them, it's going to be even tougher now, especially with the addition of Devontae Adams. But despite that, I'm just not 100% sure about the Raiders. Sometimes I wonder about Derek Carr, and that's my problem. I don't have to wonder about Mahomes. I don't have to wonder about Wilson. There are some moments where I wonder about Justin Herbert, but his talent is up there with guys like Mahomes and Allen, so I can see it there. Derek Carr is not the most talented quarterback. He's been very clutch, I'll give him that, but there are times where I really worry about him, or I just worry about this team. Despite that, I still think they're going to be a playoff team. I have their ceiling at 11-6, and their floor, I have it right around where the Broncos is, but I think it could potentially be lower or higher. So it's somewhere between 8 to 10 wins when it comes to the floor. I couldn't really come up with one. I'm inclined to say 9-8 and just decide for the middle, but I think it's a situation where their floor is just higher than the Broncos. I just straight up believe they don't have a high ceiling, but their floor isn't very low. So it's very close. So I'm thinking right around 9-8, potentially 10-7, right up there with the Chargers. Either way, the Raiders are going to be in the mix for the division, and they're going to be in the mix for the playoffs. With that being said, we have to come up with our final predictions. This is tough. This is easily the toughest one to deal with out of all the divisions. All right, my final predictions. I have the Kansas City Chiefs barely edging out this division. They're going to take it by this much. They're going to win the division by this much. Right after the Chiefs, I have the Chargers at number 2. I got the Broncos at number 3, and I got the Raiders at number 4. I'm sure I'm going to get hated from a lot of Raiders fans for putting them at the bottom of the division. However, what you got to understand here is, despite the fact that you're at the bottom of the division, or at least in my list, I still believe that all 4 of these teams are going to compete for the playoffs. And I would not be surprised if the remaining 3 playoff spots go to all guys in the AFC West. I think this may be a situation where we see every team in the AFC West actually make the playoffs because they're all just that damn good. It's so tough to pick, but somebody had to be 4th. It didn't matter. At the end of the day, no matter who you put at 4th, they're going to be a team that's going to compete for the playoffs. It's going to be tough either way. Don't know how it's going to go down, but man, the AFC West, bro. The AFC West this year is going to be a war zone, and I just keep looking at it. I still got the Chiefs winning the division, but again, the Chargers are right there. I'm disinclined. I'm not even joking. When I was making this, I was this close to say that, just straight up, I was this close to saying the Chargers are going to win the division. And my mind might change. This is before training camp and before preseason. I might come back out and say I'm changing my predictions and I'm actually going to say the Chargers win the division. Do not be surprised. And again, would anyone be surprised if the Chargers win the division? They're a very talented team. But yeah, man, I really cannot wait to see how the Chiefs look as an offense, because Tyreek Hill was a huge factor in that offense. Without Tyreek Hill, what's going to happen? Their receiving core isn't the most talented, but those guys make plays. And Tyreek Hill opens it up because he takes so much attention. When you had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on the field together, it was a nightmare. Because it's like, if you tried to double team Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce's going to get open. And if you try to double team Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill's going to get behind the defense. If you try to double team both, guess what? Someone's going to be open. Hardman's going to be open. Somebody's just going to be open. And Mahomes is going to carve them up. So it was so difficult to deal with. But now that we don't have a Tyreek Hill here, the main focus is going to be double teaming Travis Kelce. And now you got to look at guys like Hardman and look at guys like Juju, who just joined the team. They got to be the guys that straight up come out here and dominate. It's going to be very interesting. As for the Chargers as well, I just need to see them make the playoffs. They should have made the playoffs last year. They messed up. But I think this is the year they do it. They just have far too much talent to not make the playoffs. The Broncos, again, are a team that's very interesting to me. With Russell Wilson, they will be able to compete, and we'll see how that ends up working out. We'll see if they can put it together as a unit. And then the Raiders, again, I have a lot of respect for the Raiders. I congratulated them for making the playoffs, and I still think they have a chance to make the playoffs this year, especially with the addition of Devontae Adams. But when I compare them to these other teams, it's tough for me to sit back and say the Raiders are going to do it. Same thing when it comes to quarterback situation, because I don't think Carr is not, I just wouldn't put Carr at number 1, 2, or 3. He might be at the bottom of my list when it comes to quarterbacks. He really is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league right now. In fact, he probably is the most underrated quarterback. But at the same time, while I say that, I'm still not picking him over the other guys, so it's so tough for me. He really does. He's one of the few players that really does earn that underrated status that's under him. And it's tough to be like, well, I'll take him over. I'll take Carr over this guy, or I'll take Carr over that guy. You're not taking Carr over Mahomes. You're not taking Carr over Allen. You're just not. It's very tough. It's very tough to deal with. But anyway, we'll see what happens. This division should be fun. It should be interesting, man. This is going to be a full-on battle. I cannot wait to see it go down. And with that being said, that is all I've got, and I'm out of here, man. Peace!